Okay, for these demonstrations, I'm going to be using my 15,000 volt neon sign transformer. It's 30 milliamps, 15,000 volts, 30 milliamps. Don't try this at home. If this gets you, it bites hard. On top of this AC transformer, I have it bridge rectified into DC. So it's DC, but it's rectified, so it does pulse. It's not like a battery DC, but it is DC. And that means that the red is the positive on the left, going this way, and the right is the negative coming this way on the right. Above that, I have this pole here. This is where I hang my experiment devices down between the electrodes. And the electrodes, I can move them back and forth as such on both sides to get my gap wider or smaller. And so the experiments I'm going to show you is to see exactly what's happening with the electric current as it's trying to travel from this post to this post, from this electrode to the negative, and whether some of the accusations or claims that the electricity actually moves backwards from negative to positive, or if it moves from positive to negative. This is going to try to kind of explain that, but it's kind of baffling, and I'm asking you what you think is going on after you watch these various experiments and demonstrations. Before I start the experiments, I want to show you that I have this switch, which is just a thumb switch on the cord going to the transformer. So when I move the switch forward, it kicks on. You can hear it humming. And if you listen closely, you can also hear the electric current. There is a noise this makes, but it doesn't actually make a plasma or an arc. But there's some dark plasma or dark electricity moving between them, but not enough to break into an arc within the atmosphere or the air. I don't know if you can hear it or not when I switch it on. There's a buzz there. So I'm going to be using this switch a lot to make the demonstrations show themselves what I'm trying to show you. So that's what this switch does. All it does is kick the transformer on. And now we'll move on. Okay, the first part of this experiment is going to be this steel ball. It's just a ball. It's not a magnet, but it does stick to the magnet if you see that. So it's just a steel ball. It's not magnetized. And what I'm going to do is hang it on this little steel hook, a little piece of wire that's made into a sling. And I'm going to hang the sling on my pole to put the steel ball down between the electrodes. And I need to adjust it. That should do that. I can stop it from swinging, but what I want to show is that it will conduct the current through there when I turn the switch. Here's the switch. I think you can hear it now. I'm a little bit wide on my setting. I just want you to see the arc conduct itself so you can see that happen. It'll go right through the steel ball, which is expected as such. And like I said, when I separate the electrodes a little more, it'll hum, but it won't make the connection. But what I want to show you, what's interesting is, if I use the switch against gravity, and I'll let this sit still, let me stop it. Watch when I run the switch on and off, what the ball does. On, off, on, off. I can make it move. Now let me time the switch with the ball moving. That's just the current doing that. And if I leave it on, you can hear the buzzing. But it's separated too far to arc. But it keeps maintaining that movement. Now if I shut the power off, it takes a minute for the transformer to drain, and when it does, the ball will return to a state of, rest. It takes it a minute as it swings, and like I said, the transformer takes a second to drain. And let me slow that down more, quicker maybe. And it'll go to a state of rest. I can do that again. But what I want to show you, you saw that if I separate these a great deal, where, you know, there was no way they're going to arc, what I want to show you is something very strange. If I push the negative electrode near the ball, watch what happens when I get that same, you know, electrify and let gravity help me with the switch on and off, and I'll leave the current on. And here we go, on, off, on, off. It pushes it. The ground side pushes the ball away from itself. I want you to notice this, it's very important. It doesn't pull it to it, I'm letting gravity bring the ball back. I'm just hitting the switch to push it back as gravity goes to get it swinging more and more. Let it stop. I'm going to show you when I just do it once or twice, the ball will move away from the negative post. And on. You have to watch it. And on. 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 Off. On. It pushes it away. And you're thinking, well, I didn't really see that. Well, let me show you this then. On the positive side, it's going to pull it to it. It's going to move it to the left. Let it stop. And on. 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 See, every time I hit the switch, it pulls it towards the positive. On. Let me stop it so you can see which direction it's actually trying to go when I hit the switch. And on. If you hear it hum, you'll see the ball kind of move that way to your left. You see that? And on, on, on. And reversely, on this side, it's going to push away from the electrode. Let me get it to stop here. See how it moved away? Ready, and on. Let me move it back just a little bit. And on. On. I can even turn it on when it swings towards it, and it slows it down, if you see that. On, on. On, on, on. I can get it swinging. On, on. Now I'll reverse that and hit it when it's coming towards it, and it slows it down. So on this DC, when you energize the current, it always pulls towards the positive. It moves this ball when the dark current, before it actually makes, you know, connection or makes an arc, it wants to push the ball that way regardless of whether it's near the positive or negative. Now I want to show you what happens when I do that with a piece of wood. We know the metal ball is definitely conducting the current because it'll make it arc. What I have here is a piece of wood. It's actually laminated wood, but a regular piece of 1/4 inch wood or 3/8 inch wood works the same anyway. But watch what happens when I put the piece of wood in there. And I was hoping it'd stay flat. And I'm going to turn the switch on and on, on, on. It gets it moving. It's pushing it away. And on, on, on. And I can play with gravity and really get it swinging. If you see that. It's actually pushing it away and gravity's bringing it back. Let me move it out farther. And I'm gonna keep playing it. If I just leave it on, it'll make circles. And reversely, just as if you see it straightened itself back up when I changed its position, it will turn. It tries to let the current go through. If you see that, I got the power on, power off. Now watch. Watch when I turn the power on, what the wood does. See it move? It's going towards the red, towards the positive. See, it's pulling to the left. There's off, on. And I can play this side too, but I'm playing against gravity here as the swing happens, the pendulum. But it always pulls that direction. And I'm just showing that wood also conducts somewhat, but not near like the steel ball. And we've got a couple more. Let me get a couple more items and I'll show you more. Okay, in the beginning, I thought it was the conducting item that was making this happen. Okay, I thought, well, the electricity's trying to go through this, so it's making it move and so forth and so on. That still doesn't explain the odd direction of moving away from the negative and towards the positive, even though we think the current's coming out of the positive and into the negative. So what I have here is a piece of just regular home window glass. You can see right through it, see my fingers. And it's just, about a 1/8 inch or 3/16 thick. I'm going to use that as our device or our experiment piece now. And notice I get the same exact results as I do with steel or wood. And on. Yeah, let me get it stopped so you can see the initial movement. On, off, on, off, on, on. Even though it's an insulator, it's still moving with the switch. And if I leave the switch on now, it'll keep moving. I'm not flipping the switch. I'm going to turn the switch off and then you'll see how quickly it dissipates movement, but I got to let it do this for a while so you can see it just continues to move. The switch is on, you hear the transformer bumming or humming, and my neighbor's leaf blower, which I can't control what they do, but it's still moving. Now let me shut the power off. Power off, and it'll start to slow down now. Takes a little bit for the transformer to completely get rid of all the magnetic field and current. But believe me, it's slowing down. It's just hard to believe that with the power on, it keeps moving. It eventually will come to rest. But like I said, the current, let me turn it back on now. Unless you need to wait until it gets to rest, I can stop it. This last little movement. Now it's not moving. I'm going to use the switch. Yes, you can hear it clicking. On, push, on, leave it on. Now shut it off. It'll start slowing down its swing now, the pendulum action from gravity. And it's getting not near as close to the electrode as it was. But I want to show you the other direction on this same thing. And remember, this is a piece of glass. And I can move both electrodes up and touch the glass, and it will not, make cross current. So now I'm going to show the other side how it pulls. Let's see if I can get it to stop a little better. Okay, ready, on. See that? Pulled right to it. If you watch it real close, I can do it a couple times. Sitting still almost, I'm ready, and on. See, it went towards it. I can play the same pendulum game with on and off with the positive, but this side pulls. I have to work with gravity swinging this way to get it to come back and pull. It's reverse of the other side, but it's the same ending. Is that the piece is always pulled to the left. It's either pulled by the positive, or pushed by the negative. And it's the same here. I can leave it on, and it wants to turn the glass. If you see that, it wants to turn it. Especially on the positive. It's pulling on it. I don't know if it's trying to get around it or go through it. Now, if I shut the power off, it kind of stays that way. See, if I turn it on, it twists. Pulls it to it. So that's the strange of this, is there's a pull there, and on the negative side it will be a push. It's got my wire in a twist, but that's what it does. No matter what material is put in there, I get this same result. You see that? And I can show you, which you probably already know, is that I can bring these in very close to each other, or almost touching on this glass, and turn it on. And I get no arc, of course. You notice it pushes away from the negative electrode. You can hear it hitting it. But it always goes to the left in this orientation, and it will twist it if you leave it on. So that's that piece. I have one more thing I want to show you. This time I have a very large piece of glass. Well, not, it's about the size of my hand. And it's much heavier than the other one we just used. So I'll put it in between. And you can't even see you can see that it goes all the way from, down to near the platform here up to the top of the hanging pole. But now watch how much weight this electrode, or this 15,000 volts 30 milliamps, can get moving. On, push, 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 push. And it's just the electric current on this is the ground now, causing that to swing away. And if I leave it on, it'll kind of swing and twist back and forth. But this side, I'm guessing you can tell, like I can here without my own eyes, that when I first turn this on, there's a push. And if I play against the gravity pendulum swing back, I can get it swinging faster by turning the switch on and off. But that initial push is just a current. And I can play, like I said, I can play the pendulum, but I shouldn't be doing that. The current wasn't pushing against it, making it swing more and more, if you see that. I can keep that getting a larger and larger swing up to the point of where the size of this current and the weight of that glass and the gravity pulling it back, and the pendulum return is only so much you can move it. So I'll try it on the positive side now. And you'll see it's going to pull it. On, 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 on. You see it, it pulls over when I time it more than it swings back. It'll pull, 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 pull. And all I'm doing is flipping this switch. If I leave it on, it'll continue a motion. It won't quit. I don't want to burn my transformer up, but I've left it on for like 3 minutes, and it maintains a swing and a twist on all items. And you can hear the buzz of the current change, somewhat as it gets closer and farther in its pendulum swing. And I do have one more thing I want to show you, and let me do that. What I have here is a large metal plate. It's painted black, but I've roughed off the paint on both sides so I get a good connection through. I can show you with the magnet. It is metal, just steel. And we're going to use it this time and show you something else that's quite interesting. This plate's the heaviest thing I've used so far. If I put it in the middle, I wish my neighbor would quit with their leaf blower. They do this if 2 leaves fall on the ground, they run them all the way down their driveway. If I put it in the middle, my electrodes are probably too far apart at the moment. I can get a little movement. Let me get a little closer to this one. Plate's almost too heavy, but I can get it swinging if I play it just right and long enough. Push, push, push. The juice will push it, but it cannot overcome the pendulum of gravity bringing it back. But the interesting thing I want to show you with this is when I get this set to where it will arc, it will not arc there. Okay, I have to get it set just right, and it'll be obvious to you even when I get it set just right. Hear it trying. I wish I'd shut that leaf blower off. Aggravating. It's trying to. If I move it closer to the negative, it'll fire every time. You see that? When I have the short distance on this side, it fires. See that? If the short arc is on the negative side, it fires every time, pretty much. But if I move the piece over to the positive electrode, it will not fire. It arcs to the plate, if you can see the arc and hear it, but it will not fire. And I can move to the middle, and it will not fire. And you don't see near the arc you did when it was near the positive. But if I put the negative plate closer, it will fire. It will make an arc. So I have what I believe is going on here for all of these explanations. Let me move it back to the positive again. Back over that way. So I can leave it on, and it just can't do it. It'll pull it to it. It'll swing the plate a little bit, but it can't fire across. I believe I know why that's doing it. I believe I know why all of this is happening, is what I'm showing you. Now I'll move it back to the negative pole, close to it, and it fires every time. And even in the middle it won't fire. You can see sparks coming off both electrodes, but you see more on the positive than you do the negative. There's a little bitty spot on the tip of the negative, if you see that. On, there it is, there it is. There's a little bitty tip of fire on the negative. I'll turn it off. You don't see it. Now it's there. You don't see it. Now it's there. And there's a bigger one, you know, on the positive when it's pretty much in the middle. But when I move to the positive side, oops, wrong way. When I move it closer to the positive side, it really gets a big spark, and the negative stays with the little bitty one, but we don't get, you know, it doesn't breach the atmosphere. Only when I bring it closer to the negative. Every time. I have a few more ideas to run some other things with this, but let me know what you think is causing any of this, all of this, or the different aspects of it with the different materials, and let me know, and I can do some more of these later. But hit me back.